everyone, you know what's underrated, silence. You know what's powerful, focusing on you. In a world that constantly tells you to prove yourself, post everything, and explain every move, I'm here to tell you something different. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything starts to fall into place. Why? Because silence isn't weakness. It's power under control. It's discipline. It's maturity. In today's world, silence is often misunderstood. People associate it with weakness, with not having anything to say, or with fear. But the truth is, silence is one of the most powerful tools you can ever use. When you stay silent, you're not avoiding confrontation, you're choosing peace. You're choosing to preserve your energy, to protect your mind, and to rise above unnecessary drama. You begin to understand that not every action needs a reaction, and not every word deserves a reply. Silence gives you control over your thoughts, your emotions, and your direction. It shows the world that you're not easily moved by noise. Instead, you're anchored in purpose. The strongest individuals are often the quietest. They don't need to shout their plans or broadcast their success. They let their actions speak. When you're silent, you're listening not just to the outside world, but to your own inner voice. That voice that knows what's best for you. That voice that's been drowned out by opinions, distractions, and expectations. When you choose silence, you give that voice the space to rise. You begin to hear your own truth. You realize that validation is not necessary when you know your own value. You realize that noise is temporary, but character is forever. Silence becomes your protection, a shield against negativity, against gossip, against pressure. You start to walk in rooms without the need to prove anything, and that is when real confidence is born. It's in silence that clarity comes. You begin to see who's truly for you, who supports you in your absence, and who only claps when you're watching. Silence exposes reality, and in that reality, you grow stronger. You learn to pick your battles. You understand the power of patience. You become aware of your energy and how sacred it truly is. You're no longer wasting it on things that don't build you. You're investing it into yourself, into your future, into your peace. And as you walk in silence, you begin to see the results, quietly, steadily, powerfully. The world starts to notice not because you were loud, but because you were consistent. Because you chose strength over noise, because you stayed silent, and everything started to fall into place. When you begin to focus on yourself, everything changes. The world outside becomes quieter, and the world within becomes louder. That inner world, your thoughts, your mindset, your habits, begins to take center stage. You stop looking outward for direction and start trusting your own path. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you become selfish, it means you become self-aware. You begin to understand what truly matters to you, what drains you, and what energizes you. You stop comparing your journey to others because you realize your journey is unique. As you shift your focus inward, you begin to develop self-discipline. You start setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of love for your growth. You no longer say yes to things that distract you from your purpose. You no longer chase validation because your sense of worth starts coming from within. You begin to realize that real power comes from self-control, from being able to sit with yourself, from being able to build in silence without needing applause. The energy that was once wasted on proving yourself, defending your choices, or explaining your worth is now redirected toward building your goals. You wake up earlier, not for anyone else, but for you. You start reading, journaling, meditating, and creating space for your growth. You take care of your health, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You choose healing over distraction. You begin to master your emotions, not by suppressing them, but by understanding them. You learn how to pause before reacting, how to think before speaking, and how to stay grounded even when life throws chaos your way. Focusing on yourself is not just about setting goals, it's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve them. You shift from living by default to living with intention. You learn how to say no without guilt and yes without fear. You start taking responsibility for your life instead of blaming others. That's where real self-mastery begins. And the beauty of it is, the more you focus on your inner world, the more your outer world aligns. The right people begin to show up, the right opportunities begin to appear, the distractions begin to fade, and the vision becomes clear. You no longer need to force things because your energy is now aligned with your purpose. And all of this starts when you make the decision to stop chasing noise and start focusing on you. That is how you take your power back. That is how you rise. There is immense power in choosing not to react to everything. Life will always test you. Through people, through situations, through unexpected events. But reacting emotionally to every challenge only drains your energy and weakens your focus. When you decide to stop reacting and start responding through action, you take control of your life. People may say things about you, they may doubt you, criticize you, or try to provoke you, but not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves your reply. The most powerful move you can make is to stay calm, stay silent, and use that energy to move forward. Instead of wasting time arguing, you build. Instead of proving yourself with words, you prove it with consistency. Action is louder than any opinion. When you respond through action, you stop being predictable. You become focused, grounded, and harder to shake. You're not moved by noise, you're moved by your vision. That kind of energy is unstoppable. It separates you from the crowd because most people react. Most people respond emotionally, but few people can sit still, stay focused, and keep building without needing to be seen or heard in the process. That's real strength. You don't need to tell people what you're doing, you just need to do it. Let your progress speak, let your growth speak, let your results speak, and trust me, they will. People will begin to notice your discipline, your mindset, your resilience. And the best part, you won't have wasted any energy proving them wrong. You'll have simply grown past the need to explain. You'll realize that maturity is when you learn how to walk away from drama, how to stay silent in the face of ignorance, and how to keep working even when no one claps. You don't need applause, you need purpose. You don't need validation, you need vision. The real shift happens when you stop trying to change how others see you and start focusing on how you see yourself. Because once your inner world is aligned, the outside world follows. Don't get distracted by what they say, get motivated by where you're going. Turn criticism into fuel. Turn doubt into drive. And remember, silence doesn't mean defeat. It means discipline. The next time someone tries to shake your peace, pause, breathe, stay grounded, and then let your actions be your only response. That's how you win, quietly, powerfully, consistently. That's how you rise without saying a word. Choosing peace over popularity is one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your journey toward personal growth. In a world where being seen, liked, followed, and praised is valued more than being authentic, this choice requires courage. But peace, true, deep inner peace, is worth more than any amount of attention. Popularity is external. It depends on others. It requires you to constantly perform, please, and prove. It changes with trends, opinions, and time. One moment you're loved, the next you're forgotten, but peace is internal. It's steady. It comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for. It grows when you stop chasing external approval and start honoring your own values. When you seek peace, you stop living for the applause. You stop comparing your journey to others. You no longer need to be everywhere, post everything, or be everything for everyone. You begin to protect your energy. You become okay with not being understood by everyone because you understand yourself. That's freedom. That's strength. Peace is waking up in the morning and feeling aligned, not because the world praised you, but because you stayed true to yourself. You said no when it was necessary. You walked away from toxic people, even when it was hard. You chose solitude over fake company. You chose depth over attention. You didn't share your struggles with everyone. You worked on them quietly. And that silence, that stillness, gave you clarity. It taught you what really matters. Peace lets you breathe. It lets you slow down. It helps you appreciate the small victories, the growth that no one else sees, the healing that happens in private. While the world chases noise, you choose calm. While others live for likes, you live for meaning, and eventually this becomes your power because people will notice. Not because you were loud, but because your presence is grounded. Your energy is calm, your words are intentional, and that's rare. When you choose peace, your mental health improves. Your relationships become healthier. Your goals become clearer. Your time becomes more valuable. You no longer settle for things that disturb your peace because you've worked too hard to find it. You don't trade your inner calm for temporary attention. You don't sell your soul for social approval. You don't sacrifice your truth for a trend. You learn to be still, to be centered, to be aligned. And in that space, everything begins to shift. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you become. And that's when real transformation begins, not in popularity, but in peace, not in being seen, but in being whole. Quiet progress is the kind of growth that happens when no one is watching, and that's where the real transformation takes place. In today's world, people want fast results, instant recognition, and constant applause. But the truth is, the most powerful success stories are written in silence, behind closed doors, when no one's clapping, when no one sees the effort, the tears, the late nights, and the small steps. Quiet progress means showing up for yourself even when no one acknowledges it. It means keeping your head down, staying consistent, and doing the work not for attention, but for evolution. It's waking up early when the world sleeps. It's practicing discipline when distractions are loud. It's choosing to improve by 1% every single day, knowing that small steps taken consistently lead to massive results. You don't need to announce everything. You don't need to post every move. You don't need to explain what you're working on. Because when you stay focused and trust the process, the outcome will speak so loudly that you won't have to say a word. That's the power of quiet progress. It builds unshakable confidence. You start trusting yourself more. You rely less on the approval of others. You no longer seek validation because your consistency becomes your proof. You understand that overnight success is an illusion and that mastery takes time, effort, and patience. The strongest foundations are built slowly, quietly, and once they're strong, no storm can break them. You begin to take pride in the process, not just the outcome. You enjoy the journey, the learning, the growth. You realize that the most fulfilling victories are not the ones that go viral, but the ones that bring you peace, strength, and self-respect. Quiet progress allows you to evolve without pressure. It gives you room to fail, learn, adjust, and rise again without judgment. It creates space for real, deep, meaningful growth. And one day, when everything starts to align, when the success becomes visible, people will call it sudden, but you'll know it wasn't. You'll know about the quiet nights, the sacrifices, the discipline, and the effort no one saw. And that's what makes it so rewarding, because you didn't just build success. You built character. You built resilience. You built a version of yourself that didn't depend on noise to feel worthy. So keep working in silence. Keep planting those seeds, keep showing up. One day, the world will see the results, but more importantly, you'll feel them. You'll know you earned it not through hype, but through heart. That is the true power of quiet progress. It's steady, it's strong, and it always leads to loud results. Conclusion: when you focus on yourself and stay silent, you step into a different kind of power, a quiet, unshakable strength that doesn't need validation or applause. You begin to grow not for attention but for alignment. You stop reacting to noise and start responding with purpose. Your peace becomes your priority, your discipline becomes your guide, and your progress becomes your voice. In that silence, you rediscover who you are and what truly matters. And slowly, without forcing anything, things begin to fall into place. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Stay focused. Stay grounded. Stay silent. And watch how everything aligns in your favor.